Okay, cut. I'm going to have to fix this Nintendo DS before I continue. But first, some background perspective. The original Nintendo DS was Nintendo's second dual-screen handheld gaming platform, the first being Game & Watch from the 1980s. The Nintendo DS form factor was based on this original Game & Watch design. Initially, Game & Watch had single screens, with dual screen or multi-screen as they were called, added shortly after. They used fixed artwork LCD screens, resulting in individualized games for each individual unit. They remain highly collectible today. The very first multi-screen Game & Watch released was called Oil Panic in 1982. Interestingly, this was only 3 years after the 1979 global oil panic, also called the oil crisis or oil shock. This was also a time when video games started becoming very popular. I'm going to fix this DS so I can access some 1980s video games. This is actually my first ever Nintendo DS. I didn't get to have one back in the day, so it's nice to finally have one. Okay. Battery cover and battery. I managed to score this unit second hand. Obviously in its faulty condition, so it wasn't very expensive. Now there is a sticker here covering up one of the screws. Some sort of warranty sticker from 2012. And there are some tri-wing screws. I do have a tri-wing screwdriver here. It's a little bit big, but it does work on these. I'm going to presume that this bottom comes straight off. So we're starting to see it come apart. There we go. I'm going to want to not scratch this, so I'll get my cloth. Okay, just a cloth to keep it unscratched. Well, let's keep going with the take apart. There's a screw right here. Okay, well, let's get in there and unclip the screen cable. Clip in there is undone. Let's see if we can get the cable out of the... Come on, the clip's undone. Why is it so... There it goes. Okay. Okay, we've got one more clip there, undone, and one more antenna lead which goes underneath the cartridge connector. I'm not sure I'm going to get that back through. We'll worry about that after. Come on. Ah. Okay, main board. Okay, so that's the faulty screen, which I'm going to have to replace. I'm going to need a spare part for that, and as it turns out, I do have one. I have another Nintendo DS here, and this one's considerably more beaten up. Got a lot of scratches, and screen scratched, hinge no good. Do a quick test. Power up is okay. Bottom screen looks great, so that'll be the donor screen. Top screen doesn't look any good, but that doesn't matter. Okay, that looks alright. Let's get all the screws out. See what we've got inside this one. Oh, that's right. There's another tri-wing screw here. Done. Now this one actually looks a bit shinier than the other main board. Disconnect that ribbon there. See that little one? Open the gate. Get the cable out carefully. And then the second cable right there. Disconnect. Out. That's the good screen that we want. I think I might actually install this board here, the slightly shinier one from the scratched up unit, into the cosmetically good unit. I do want to get this good screen out. Now obviously, there we go, part of it's coming out. However, I certainly don't want that touchscreen that's all scratched up, so I'm going to have to detach that. Need to work out some way to separate that touchscreen. Let's see what's going on if I put something in there. Yeah, that's not bad at all. That's just a piece of thick perspex on the front. Let's get that off then. Okay, good. It's really just slightly sticky on there, not too hard at all. Want to be careful not to damage those cables, of course. Okay, let's lever that off now. And there we go. One scratched up touchscreen removed. One working LCD ready for installation. We'll get the good unit with the bad screen. Let's see if we can get that screen out. Easy. In this case, these LCD ribbon cables don't matter so much. Faulty display out of the way. Alright, let's connect it with the good LCD. Got some dust gathering on there already, so we'll get that cleaned up. Okay, the inside of the touchscreen, of course, is gathering dust as well. Alright, let's get these two together. Now, as I recall, I think it goes this way. It's fine. Alright. Get that back in. See, it just looks a bit grimy in here and so forth. Just some isopropyl and a toothbrush should do the job. There we go. So let's do it. Let's get it together and run a test. This might be easy to do if I, do it this way. Get that get the ribbon cable in there. I must say this didn't come out very easily, and it's not going in very easily either. Unlatching it is meant to make it really easy, but really have to push quite hard. Okay, that's in, let's get it latched. This is one of the annoying parts of the design of the Nintendo DS, is this cable. If I look down there, I can see there's a gap the whole way. I just got to sort of get it to go straight down that gap. How hard can that be? It's sort of going now. There we go. It's on the other side. Come on. Oh, that's the old scratched one. Good. Good. Okay, before I put all the screws in, I'm going to run a test. See what we've got. Top screen works, bottom screen works, that looks fine. This bottom screen is still not sitting correctly. I think that I didn't quite position the touchscreen correctly with the LCD. So I'm going to have to do some more alignment because it's stuck together. I can't just slide the LCD and the touchscreen into the right position. I'm going to have to go and take it apart. So maybe that's taken apart enough and I can just sort of separate it right here. Yep, good. Touchscreen in, LCD in, and together. Let's see if that did it. That looks pretty good. Come on, there we go. There we go. Okay, that's really good. I'm happy with all of that. Okay, let's get all the screws back into it now. Yeah, that'll do. Alright, let's get it all together and do a proper test. But the power button is not, I didn't align it correctly. So it's always in that position, it won't move over. So we'll just Yeah, disconnect that, move the power button into position together. Okay, and try not to lose the screws. It's done, let's power back up. Looks good. Okay, that's loading the game fine. Alright, okay, I'd like to test the other slot. Got a Game Boy Advance game. Which way does that go? Oh, that way. Okay. Okay, good. We have a Game Boy Advance game detected and loading. Alright, done. I now have a fixed Nintendo DS and some spare parts. I'll get this all cleaned up now. I now have a working DS. Time to get some homebrew retro game emulators running. One of the best ways of running homebrew on a DS is using a flash cart, otherwise known as an R4 cart. I have here a very early R4 cart from 2008 or so, before the later years when all the clone carts and time bomb firmwares were available. Thanks, Dylan. To set up an R4 cart, get a microSD card, in this case a 2GB card. This is the maximum size that works with early R4 carts. Download the R4 firmware matching your version of the card onto the microSD. Also, add any DS software that you want to run to the microSD card as well. The first game I'm going to run is a homebrew version of Oil Panic. Seems like a fitting tribute to the first multi-screen Game & Watch that inspired the origin of the Nintendo DS. So the idea with Oil Panic is to collect the drips on the top screen into my 3 drip-sized bucket, and then to deposit that bucket to my friend on the bottom screen. And you can see I've missed one of the drips up the top and set fire to the burners, and I've got a miss. And if I miss my friend's bucket down the bottom, it'll go onto a pedestrian right there, and I get another miss. It's a fairly accurate version of the gameplay. Unfortunately, there's no sound with this version, so it's not completely accurate. Oops, onto the pedestrian there. I also really like the graphics. I think they're pretty well drawn, and I like the way you can see the unlit elements, just like with an original Game & Watch with the type of LCDs they used back in the 80s. Technically, this game is not being emulated. Rather, we would call this being simulated, with the graphics and controls all being a close simulation of the original. I will be exploring Game & Watch simulation accuracy further in a future video. Moving on to another type of homebrew, that being scene demos. Demo groups enjoy sharing their mad skills by pushing various hardware capabilities of different devices. The DS has dozens of examples of demos. One of my favourites by the group K2, called Numbering Sucks. The music from this demo was featured in the intro to this video, so let's finish off with some more music and clips from the demo running directly on this DS.